the first thing that you find on pages 6 through 10 are our STAR performance data. So it breaks down the data by all three different performance rates: approaches, meets, and masters. And it's broken out for each assessment and all grades by all subjects, and then all grades combined by subject. It has the results for the 2019 accountability year, so it's looking at summer EOCs, December EOCs, and then the spring EOCs. And it's only the students that are included in our accountability subset, so they had to be sitting on our campuses on our October snapshot date, and they had to be sitting on our campus when they took the test. On page 11, it talks about academic progress. This is academic growth. This is domain 2, information and accountability. And that is on page 11. And then on page 12, we have our prior year and student success initiative information. So we have the progress of our prior year non-proficient students. And then we have our student success initiative information for our 5th and 8th graders. And then on page 14 and 15, they break down the data just for our bilingual education and ESL programs. So it has the performance and the progress measures by instructional model for any student that is LEP. So we wanted to highlight some data for you. So we wanted to look kind of at a bigger picture idea, and we've presented some of this data before, how we look compared to our neighbors in Bexar County. So we have 3rd grade math and 4th grade math, so you can see where we are, looking at the large comprehensive districts in Bexar County. And then we have 5th grade math, both administrations combined, and 6th grade math. And we have 7th grade math. And then 8th grade algebra, keeping in mind our algebra students include a limited number of 7th graders, all of our 8th graders, and then any freshmen that were not with us as 8th graders who took algebra at the high schools. And this would include retesters also. Then we have reading. So we have our 3rd grade reading and our 4th grade reading. And our 5th grade reading, both administrations combined, and our 6th grade reading. And then we have our 7th grade reading and our 8th grade reading, both administrations combined. So you can see that we are in the top quartile in almost every area. Something we wanted to add to this presentation we don't usually talk about is academic growth, because we're starting to, especially in the C&I division, concentrate a lot more on looking at our academic growth. So this is the percent of students who showed growth, at least 1 year of growth on both math and reading, broken out by campus.
So our algebra, and maybe Galila can help me here, what we do in algebra, we push rigor further down to the earlier grades. So all of our 8th graders who start the first day of school here in Southwest ISD in 8th grade are essentially an algebra class. If you come in beyond that point, basically with the 8th grade algebra, not put that student in a position. So when you look at our results, you're looking at all of our 8th grade scores combined with the 9th graders who weren't successful really the year before. And so when you look at our scores, it's really not apples to apples, because you have 8th graders. We also this past year have included some 7th graders, some students who were trying to get further along the line with rigor in order to challenge and perform further on the college entrance, SAT, ACT exams. And so when you look at a topic like algebra, we are probably one of 3 or 4 districts right now who have pushed algebra into the middle schools, and I think we're one of 2 that have required all 8th graders, put all 8th graders into rigor, and we think it's a better position for our students at that time. And do we continue that? Is the conversation I think that we're having right now to bring some information back to the board and kind of show you more in depth
Right now, the question with the state is if we are giving the students 8th grade algebra, there's a possibility of the sequence in the order and what other tests they have to take. So the state is asking that students that take algebra 1 in the middle school, they also have to have a state assessment at the high school. So that's the conversation that we're having, that we've been pushing rigor, and at the same time now there's some accountability that the state wants to put together with that. So we're looking at the sequence, we continue with algebra 1. Same thing for 7th graders. The kids that continue taking algebra 1, they must take also the 7th grade test. So we're looking at the alignment of the skills. For 8th grade, we do see some skills that if we do continue, so we would have to test them twice. 8th grade test and also the algebra 1. So those are the kind of conversations that we're having right now.
Can I ask about the 5th grade reading and 6th grade reading? Can you tell, or what is the reason behind the big drop when you do 6th grade?
Well, that's been a general conversation that we always come back to. And although we do see that drop here, we have had some increase overall in Southwest for the last years.
I mean, but it looks like across the board, like,
Yeah,
Right.
it reflects the state education. We have students basically leaving smaller, either
Right.
departmentalized environments, and they're going to the transition to middle school, where they're changing classes all day long. Students are going to adolescence, there are some social emotional aspects of it that definitely follows the state things and follows the national things of performance and outcomes of students in the transition from one category of school to another category of school. We see it bounce back as we get to the grade.
so what are we doing? Are we just saying, okay, that's just how it
So-
is? Or are we trying to?
So this year we did try something different. We looked at the minutes for ELAR, and so the middle school principal decided to do some changes with the master schedule, where the students are getting more opportunity to spend some more time in the ELAR courses. And so that is the decision that the middle school principals felt that maybe we invest more time towards quality too, then we could potentially see additional increases. So now we do have more planning that is happening, more strategic planning around it. And so we have seen some common assessments, some progress, some increase in success for the students.
So you, on the assessment test they've been taking so far this year, you've seen an improvement over last year?
Yes.
Of course, it's not the same kids, so it's kind of hard to say, but.
So what we do, a lot of students, you can identify them coming in to go to 6th grade. We have programs like Read 180, 1544. There's a number of programs that mitigate some of those, what we think are maybe reading deficiencies, and try to close the gap. In 6th grade, what you see a big thing is a slide back. You see it in Southwest, you see it in Northside, you see it in Dallas, and you see it throughout the nation. So when those students slide back, then you try to identify what their needs are, literacy needs are going into 7th grade, and you try to plug these gaps in. So there's a big slide. I think that's been a million-dollar question, I think, in my 30 years in this case. What happened in 6th grade?
Do you remember, it's been a while, but when we set up a 6th grade campus, was it the same? Did they drop even though they had the smaller, I mean, they weren't like thrown into the middle school? Were the scores, did they still drop a lot when the 6th grade was in?
Remembering back, I don't think our results are any different than any 6th grade throughout San Antonio. We can go back and look at those numbers and make comparisons to. I don't recall it made a big social emotional difference because those students were there. But what we did is we created another transition for them. And so they had to continue the transition again. So going back and putting 6th grades on campus, I know the former middle school principal, you try to isolate those students, but they're really not the age to kind of move around with 7th and 8th graders yet. But halfway through the year, 3/4 of the year, you really start to try to immerse them into that new environment, take away one of the transitions to your 6th grade campus. I don't recall those numbers being greater than a school around them.
Okay.
All right, so continuing on with the taper on page 16, we talk about STAR participation. And then on page 17, we have our attendance, graduation, and dropout rates for 2 years. So our attendance rate is on page 17, so you can see what it was for. And this data runs behind. So you're looking at 17-18 data and 16-17 data, so you can compare the 2 years. Then you have our annual dropout rate broken out by 7-8 and then 9-12 on page 17. Then you have the 4-year longitudinal graduation rates, both the state rate and the federal rate, because they are calculated differently. And then the 5-year rate, which is the state rate only, and then the 6-year graduation rate, which is the state rate only. So if you're on the little side, it should be, yeah. So on page 17 of this, you'll find those numbers. You're looking at the
Numbers on each page, look at the larger number.
large number on the side.
And for folks in the audience, we also have some of the.
Yes, they were out on the back. On the white one, it's on the shorts end, page 17. That's where these numbers are. Side 15 on this one. I know there are a lot of numbers and then a lot of pages. Okay, and then on page 19, or on page 18, they have our graduation plan rates. So it's broken out by all the different types of graduation plans that are available and what percentages we had for each plan, and that's on page 18.
What is that dropout rate? Sorry, I know
That's right.
it doesn't follow the-
So on page 17, our annual dropout rate for 7th and 8th graders only was 0.1%, and that's been the same number for both years. And our annual dropout rate for grades 9 through 12 was 1.0%, and it's been the same for 2 years. On page 19, you have our graduation profile, so that breaks out our graduating class of 17-18 by the different ethnicities, the different graduation types, and special programs that they were in as seniors. And that is on page 19. Then on page 20 and through 21, we have our college, career, and military readiness broken out. So you have our CCMR graduates, and this runs behind, so this is the class of 18. You have our college-ready graduates, our career military ready graduates, and then you have on page 22 and 23 all the different indicators broken out. So you have the TSIA results, you have the CTE coherent sequence percent, our percent that completed and received credit for college prep courses, our AP IB results, our SAT ACT results, and then on page 24, other post-secondary indicators such as our advanced dual credit course completion, and then our graduates enrolled in Texas institutions of higher education. So this information is used several places in the accountability system, but the taper breaks it out into all the different groups for us. And then it also has the graduates in higher education that completed 1 year without having to enroll in a developmental education course. So they were able to go straight into credit-bearing courses. Then we have student information on pages 25 and 26. So this starts with our student enrollment that's been broken out by grade level, ethnicity, and other indicators. And then we have our staff information on page 27 and 28 that breaks out our staff by classification, ethnicity and gender, degrees held, and other indicators. And then our program information on page 29, which is our student enrollment by program, our teachers by program. And that's the last page of the taper. So there's a lot of very dense data involved in this report.
This is an annual report that every school district in perspective, receives every year, and it's kind of a snapshot of the previous year. Some of the information is in 2 years arrears, some of it is in 1 year arrears, some of it is the most prior year. And it basically, it's public information. You can, if you go on the, in Google, the Texas Academic Performance Report, would direct you to the website. We have access to every school district through a drop-down menu that you can look at. It lets you compare information. We use it a lot to compare ourselves with other districts, surrounding districts, and a lot of times when we bring comparison data to you in the past, in the future, we extrapolate it from this document and from CPA. That information is basically driven by what we submit through our teams reporting here in the district and our state performance reports that come through the state accountability system going through here as well. It's a 25-page document. You could spend an hour on every page, probably longer on some of the pages. There's a lot of information in here. It all depends on what you're trying to do a study around, what you're trying to compare yourself to. The great thing about here, it gives you a Texas average, it gives you a district average, and it gives you kind of a campus average, so that you can look at here and really get some value. We look at it a lot when we compare ourselves with student outcomes on state exams. We look at it and what does our dropout look like, what does our graduation rate look like, how do we compare in demographics, and how many teachers do we have, 5 plus more years, 10 plus more years, how does it compare to other ISDs and things throughout Texas. So that's how we look at the information. So when we get this report, the requirement we do through a public hearing, that's what the whole thing is doing here today. No way she can go through every aspect of it, but if there's any particular aspect that any trustee would like us to bring more information back, we'd be happy to take that and bring back the bill back to you.
Actually, what I'd probably like, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but maybe a summary coming from you on what you feel our needs are, how we're addressing our needs. Again, this report, we get it annually, and numbers and this numbers and everywhere. And I think that would help you, see where we can continue supporting your staff.
I think we try to bring some of that in when we do the kind of the rank order of where our third, fourth, and fifth grade are doing math compared to the surrounding areas. Because I know that means a lot to you guys. So we try to bring a little bit of that in. So I'll go through and we'll pick out what we think are the big ones in here and bring them back in the conversation and work with. That's great.
Okay. Right. Oh, we're not done, sir. That was just section 1.
Section 2, I'll be really brief because, we're in 1920 and the data that we have to use for this report is 1718, so it's about 2 years out. So I didn't print out all the financial data, but if you, on the PEMS, for the public, it's on the PEMS report that's put out by TDA, it's on their website. It covers our fund balances, our expenditures, our revenue. It compares us to where the state averages are. And so you can kind of see it puts our tax rate for 1718. So that data is out there, and we just got to make sure that people know that it's on the PEMS report on the TD website.
Okay.
And it also will break it down by campus if you want to see it by campus. So if you want to look at every elementary, see what they're getting funded, what their expenses are, that's broken down there as well.
Okay, so the next section to talk about is our district accreditation status. So TEA assigns an accreditation status to every district in the state, either accredited warned, accredited probation, or accredited revoked. So they look at our accountability ratings for academics and finance and our data integrity and any program deficiencies identified through PBMES, which is now RDA. And our accreditation status for 1819 is accredited. The next section is on our campus performance objectives. Campus performance objectives are created by every campus in the district and included in their campus improvement plan. The performance objectives are brought to the board for approval, and each campus periodically measures their progress towards their performance objectives. So updated campus improvement plans are all posted on the district's website and are available for review at central office or at each campus. Next part is on violent and criminal incidences. So I'll have Adrian come up.
Good evening, Board President Frazier and board members, Dr. Verstev. The Texas Education Code, Section 39.306, requires each district to publish, as part of its annual report, a report on violent or criminal incidents that occur at each campus in the district. The report must include several bits of information. One is the number, rate, and type of violent or criminal incidents that occurred on each campus to the extent permitted under FERPA. Descriptions of school violence prevention and violence intervention policies and procedures used to protect students, and findings from evaluations conducted under the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities Act, if any. The district's report for the 2018-19 school year is available for review at the district central office and at each campus in the district. The next couple of slides actually list the campuses that and the number of incidents. The incidents that are actually factored into this particular designation or that list the violent or criminal incidents are actually listed on the left-hand side. On this first page, what you see are secondary campuses, the high schools and our middle school campuses, along with a couple of elementary campuses, Southwest Elementary and Sun Valley. There is a second page that lists the rest of the elementary campuses, but on this first page of the campuses that you see there were 3 campuses that did report 1 incident each of the incidents that are actually there listed on the left. Southwest High School did list 1 incident during this particular school year. Legacy High School listed 1 incident also, and we also have Scobie Middle School that reported 1 incident as well of the incidents that are there listed on the left-hand side of this particular report. On the second screen, what we have are the remaining elementary campuses. Of the campuses that are listed on this particular page, none of them reported any incidents at all of those that are there listed on the left. So. Okay, thank you.
All right, so the next piece to talk about is our student performance in post-secondary institutions. So this is a report that is given to us by the Higher Education Board, and it is for our class of 17 graduates and how they performed, how many of them went directly from the high school directly into either a 4 or 2 year university, and then what their GPA was that first year of college. So this is what our report looks like. So you can see how many students went to a 4-year and how many went to a 2-year college, and then how many went to an independent college or university, or how many were not trackable or not found out of our graduating class at Southwest High School.
Why do we have so many that are not found?
So they aren't showing up in the clearinghouse data as being enrolled in a university or a 2-year college.
So they go by like social security number or what?
He's a banner ID based on the personal identifiable number, the national clearinghouse puts that information. This reflected the first year after graduation.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean that students don't tap into college further down the road, but a lot of our students work to go to school. A lot of our students go to school later. A lot of our students choose workforce or military when they get to college. So it's not really a true picture when you can just look at this 1 year after graduation, but it is an indicator. Mr. Vasquez's question earlier, one of the things that we're working on in our district is to get more students to choose going to college, and that has a lot to do with where are we in our PSI, what is our SAT in comparison to other districts' SATs, what we do to really kind of bring some support and move that need in that area. That's definitely where we've had a lot of conversations about lately, and that's where this kind of aggregate data really helps us with that.
All right. And lastly, there is a glossary, so that if you are interested in how they prepare all these pieces of data and what they put into the taper, they have the glossary that explains each data point. It's also available in Spanish. And the district taper and the campus's tapers will be posted to our website within 2 weeks of this meeting, so it makes it an easy way to get to it without having to go through the TEA website. Of course, there will be paper copies available at the central office or at each campus, and if you have more questions, you're welcome to contact me, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions you have. So, are there any questions that are burning right now?
Audience, have any questions? Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Wolfson.
All right. If not, we'll adjourn that meeting, and we've only got a couple of minutes to go ahead and people that are coming or going, we will make the adjustment.
Question two-step.
Roger, you doing the,
No, I'm doing getting for the hurrah. Where's that? I know you did.
Can't wait till Christmas.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, I'll do it before we.
All right. Meeting come to order. Dr. Burton.
yes, good evening, board members and students and staff and guest committee members who are here this evening. Thank you for coming. January is always a very special board meeting. It's when January is School Board Appreciation Month, and I know that our campuses and really step forward and like to show their appreciation to our trustees. Now, they do that tenfold. They just see some really handsome, beautiful students in front of you. Looks like have a special tribute to board before we get there. I would like to ask Ms. Janice Hernandez to lead us in our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone would please rise. Dear God, we thank you for the opportunity to come and gather together this day. We ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting and that you would guide and direct our meetings so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals this day. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
All right, the first thing on the agenda is recognition.
Yes, we have some recognition this evening. We have our Students of the Month, and we're always excited to recognize. I think we have a student who's doing some pretty phenomenal things in the fine arts area at a young age. Then we have, I think, a really great recognition to our board. We're going to do that.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to do our student recognitions first. So we want to ask Charisma James to come forward. Indian Creek Elementary is honored to recognize Charisma James. Oh, she's not here. Okay.
We're gonna come back to Ms. James then.
Ms. James, her family is here, yes, but she's not here. Okay, so we are going to next go to Crewald Elementary, who is proud to recognize Shannon Ben Delay. Shan is an exceptional student who is extremely responsible, organized, and dedicated to her studies. She currently represents Crewald as Student Council President and as the programming captain of the robotics team. Shannon is considerate of her classmates and is always willing to lend a helping hand or explain a difficult concept to her peers. Her kindness shows no limits as she gets along with everyone she meets, and her passion for learning gives her a hunger to develop and grow academically. She is full of spunk with a positive attitude and will no doubt continue to be a successful learner in whatever she attempts. Congratulations. Next up, Scobie Middle School is excited to recognize 8th grade student Kathleen Ben Delay, which is Shannon's sister. Kathleen is a very driven and dedicated student when it comes to her academics. She is constantly striving for that 100 in everything she does and is also part of the Scobie's NJHS. Kathleen excels in all subject areas and is taking geometry as an 8th grade student. She enjoys sports and has tried just about all of them at Scobie, but her love is volleyball. Coach Bryson has been an inspiration to her, and she actually hopes to play volleyball in college. She recently stated that she wants to be a quantum physicist when she grows up. Congratulations. Mr. Black says, if you are looking for a fine young man who is an exceptional leader, then look no further than Juan Guerra. Juan Guerra from Southwest High School. Please come forward. Juan is the president of the National Technical Honor Society, a club on campus that is designed to help students with career choices, but also gets involved in community service. Juan has led the NTHS by contributing to such events as the Southwest High School Homecoming Dance, Veterans Day Celebration, Reefs Across America, food drives for the San Antonio Food Bank, Blue Santa Parade, and many, many more. His goal is to graduate from college with a PhD in astrophysics and to become known as a leader who inspires people to reach beyond their current self-imposed limitations. Congratulations. And then we are going to also recognize today Charisma James, who is here. Charisma not only excels in demonstrating exemplary leadership qualities, but also strives to be a role model among her peers, student body, family, and community. She is humble, diligent with her work, goal-oriented, and strives in her academic goals and achievements. She takes the initiative to use her imagination and talents to complete projects and assignments beyond the expectations. Students often seek her out because of her gentle demeanor, and she is widely respected by all. Peers, faculty, and staff find her to be benevolent, compassionate, empathetic, but just as important, she encompasses honesty and trustworthiness traits. Congratulations.
She's a chief district. She used to be a really college high school teacher. So she's texting me right now. Oh, God.
We also know behind our students are families that really support them and set some expectations and make sure they deliver each and every day. So this time we'd like to ask families, our parents, our grandparents, whoever came to support these students, would you please stand up and let us recognize you for everything you do. Thank you. We'd also like to ask the principals of these campuses being represented. Our principals, would you please stand up if you are being represented here? And know you want to stay up here and let everybody look at you, but congratulations. Great honor, great recognition.
So we all know our fine arts department and our students are doing wonderful things. So tonight we're going to recognize Annabelle Aragon. Please rise. Annabelle Aragon from Resnick Middle School competed with the high school students from our regional area in the 5A High School Region Band Competition. This is a competition that happens each year for all high schools in our region. She was the only 8th grader to enter the competition, and we are happy to report that she achieved first chair flute, topping all of the high school students who were competing against her. This is a major This is a major accomplishment because she has only been playing for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And has bested students who have been playing for 7 years. Congratulations to Annabelle, her band directors, and her parents.
That's all hurt.
We have Annabelle Dad stand up to be recognized. Great job.
Make sure this is ready.
So next is our school board recognition. We have some of our students here who really wanted to take the time today to say thank you to our wonderful school board. January is a great time to celebrate your hardworking school board members and educate the public about the important role that a school board plays in our communities and schools. To kick off this part of our recognition is Southwest High School's Alexis Hansen.
Good evening. On behalf of all of us here, we would like to thank our Board of Trustees for all they do for us students and staff here at Southwest. To show our appreciation, here is a special video followed by a special performance from us, the Southwest High School Band Tuba Euphonium Quartet. Performers are Matthew Iglesias, Betty Mixon, Alexis Hansen, and Devin Baker.
Come on. Here we go. Let's do it this way.
This month, Southwest ISD celebrates.
Celebrates the special people.
People who are committed to us.
And to making sure
We are successful learners. And that we have the best education.
to be our advocates. They volunteer their time and that our dreams come true. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board.
Thank you, school board.
Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board. Thank you, school board.
guys so much. That was beautiful.
I didn't know they made trumpets so big.
And that concludes our student and board recognitions for the night, but there is one more recognition that we have.
Yeah, so we hope the board, through all the gifts they got from all your campuses, really, in our students' performance, shows what you do through civic responsibility and contributing to who we are as a community is very much appreciated. We know you get paid nothing, and what the treasures you get from serving this community will go well beyond any compensation can ever give you. We just appreciate every minute that you give to us and everything you've ever done to help us be a better system to raise the next generation. And that's what it's all about. So thank you for everything you do. We do appreciate you. We do have one more recognition, and in our organization, we're always trying to encourage folks to get involved, get engaged in associations and to see what's happening beyond the perimeter of the fence that surrounds or confines the Southwest ISD. And so we'd like to honor one of those people who did just that. This person decided to enter into the Texas Association of School Board Business Officials. He met all criteria, and so we'd like to recognize, he puts on his jacket, we'd like to recognize Mr. Brandon Frist, who has successfully completed the requirements to earn the designation of a registered Texas School Business Administrator, dated October 31st, 2019, and we just got word that he completed, and now he is a registered Tazewell official.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm not going to ask if your parents are here. But
They might be.
I'm very proud of you.
I'll hold this.
All right. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. What's
Really
really
good to go around?
No, go ahead.
Mr. Chris has been on that host, sir.
Does that mean you can sign checks now?
No, that's up to you guys still. He's a registered guy, you have to ask him. He's been on health kick for about 3 weeks, and I didn't know that. We actually have him a cake in the back, so.
Is that everything?
That does complete our recognition, Mr. President.
All right, number 4, has anybody signed up for the board?
Yes, sir, Ms. Alex, would like to speak to the board on board election. Ms. Alex.
Ms. Abbott?
Good evening. I was surprised after last year's board election to learn that there was a total of 399 votes. That's less than the totals of some of the elections that were held in the 90s. That's before we had Legacy and Cass High Schools, Resnick, Spicewood, and Meadow Creek. I think it's because Southwest does nothing to make community members aware of the elections. I understand why current board members might not want the community to be aware of their election options, but the administration should never be perceived as working for that. I read Southwest's website and I see statements like how it values the community, words like crinkle to wrinkle, the priorities and indicators, mention many times the need for Southwest to use all facets of communication to reach the community, that it works for community engagement and collaboration. Under shared beliefs, it mentions leading by example, open and honest communication, community taking ownership, and recognition that learning is lifelong. Dr. Versteff, I first met you when you were at McAuliffe. I thought then you wanted and appreciated community engagement. I was happy when you went to the high school and when you were named superintendent. I understood and understand that you have a lifelong connection to the land in Southwest. I'd hope you would clean up some of these issues. Maybe your superintendent's duties too often take your attention outside of the district. I don't know, but I beg you to turn more of your attention to inside of the district before you move on. At a minimum, every year Southwest should publicize the possibility of a board election in May. It should publicize how and where interested people can get the information and how they can file and the deadline. That can be done tomorrow. When there is to be an election, we should do what the city of San Antonio does, post each candidate's filing paperwork on your website. That in no way suggests Southwest endorsement of any candidate, but it lets the voters check out the candidates. I urge Southwest to have more early voting locations other than right here. I realize Southwest personnel many of them live on the west side of the district. Last time I looked, all the board members lived on the west side of the district. But I think most of the Southwest population lives in the middle and on the east side of the district. So if you live there, to drive over here just to vote early is a hassle. The fact that at this meeting you'll be discussing the possibility of a joint election with Lido is discouraging. Lido has its own ISD, and most of Southwest population lives away from Lido. Such a decision would do nothing but confuse and discourage Southwest voters. I suggest Southwest conduct all future board elections with Bexar County. In the past, when that's been suggested, people have said, well, that's too expensive. I've never heard how expensive it is, but I'd like to know, and then I'd like to compare that amount with other money Southwest spends on other things, like, for example, the new billboards, which state the obvious, this is SW. Dr. Verstuff, again, I beg you to turn your attention inward to ensure the Southwest community members are aware of their options and opportunities to vote. The community deserves more than just to pay for everything. And if I can do anything to help, just let me know. Thank you.
All right. The next thing we're going to go into will be probably boring for most people that are here. If you want to stay, we'll be glad to have you. If you want to leave, I'll give people a couple of minutes to go on, and we'll be glad to have you if you want to stay. Come on, stuff to be boring after this.
Congratulations.
That is nice. Congratulations. Thank you.
And there's cake. Woo, party.
Yay, I know. I gave it up too.
Well, I could tell in your face already.
I had
How long have you been doing it?
Been 14 days.
I'm on like day 10. I'm following some good stuff. For lunch today, I had a protein shake. And I'm probably only going to have broth.
Yeah, I've been doing also the same. I think I've been like on, almost like 10 days too.
What are you doing?
The fruits and fruits and vegetables.
Because you're full then at least, you know? Yeah. It's going to be our next program right here.
How are you? Great to see you. Hello, sir. How are you? How are you doing? Likewise, sir.
I know that. Are you here with works or foundation? really? Which project are you working on? Oh, good. Awesome.
Renovation, that's fine.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad to see you. It's great to have you here. I know. I'm trying to stay out of foundation work. Too much work.
Thank you, sir.
She texted me. She's like, I think he left them in his car.
Just right out the door.
I'll get them from you later.
What's Rico? How you doing, sir?
Congratulations.
Hey, I want you to show up in your shirt. That's what a real lady does.
Rico's? How you doing? Congratulations.
Your lifers now. Lifers. Hey, man. Hey, they just posted they're going to retire Kate Osterman's or Kat Osterman's jersey. I just tagged you on it. Oh, no, I agree.
Hey, we
I
didn't
agree.
talk on the calendar for next year, how we divide the semesters.
Where'd you die?
Northside is going to go 1 week short on the first semester. So you're going to do a 5 week, a 6 week, and a 6 week.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah.
we do our traditional 6 week, 6 week, 6 week, we'll end up coming back for 1 week after break. And then that would be the end of the semester, so we need to talk about how we're going to do that.
Okay. Hey, man. I don't see you.
Hi, Mr. Tamayo.
Like, all the freaking time. Every 2 days I'm meeting with you about something crazy. No, we have been, it's been awful in HR. I've never seen people fired. Hey, Will.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Board members, you have that in front of you. Do you have any?
Maybe this one.
You had that consent agenda in front of you. Do you have questions?
I move. A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on to item information, the first thing is discussion.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Barajas is going to come up and do some updates with some individuals from his firms.
Good evening. Just wanted to give you guys a 2-sentence update on the natatorium in Southwest High School Phase 3. We're taking all the comments and all the feedback we heard on Brownback, and we're looking into the items. We'll come and present an update as soon as we have one available. So we're continuing with meetings and the progress of the.
That'll be the next Brownback. We'll be ready.
Any questions on those? Okay, here for the next item, we have Mr. Alan Linscock with CEC to give us a construction update on the middle school 4-lane tracks that were part of the 2018 bond. So. And I previously handed out the hard copy of those for you.
Good evening. We're working on track plans for the 4 middle schools, McNair, Resnick, Scobie, and McAuliffe. Our field crews have finished surveying at 3 of the schools. We're going to be out at Scobie tomorrow if they weren't there today getting those plans. This is up on the screen is the McNair track. It's going to go around the field that's closest to the tennis courts. As opposed to the other field, the other one had some floodplain issues that would, would have delayed approval and construction of that track. So we're going up next to the tennis courts. What do I need to do to get to the next? That would be my time.
All we're talking about is the track.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Not what looks like a soccer field.
No. That's what they currently use.
These are copies of the plans from the original schools. So yeah, there's another field out there. We're not doing anything to the field, just adding the track. At Scobie, we're adding and the McNair one is scheduled to be done during the summertime. At Scobie, that one will be scheduled to start later in the summer and finish later in the fall, because we have a lot of drainage rework that'll have to be done on the kind of the northwest side of that field there to allow the field to be constructed over where there's an existing drainage channel.
Can you explain to them why it won't fit on the football field?
At Scobie, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we looked at, we can't put it around the competition field because of the tennis courts. The tennis courts were sited a number of years ago, and at that time, the district personnel wanted to save those large oak trees that are there to the kind of the northeast of the tennis courts. And those are, we looked at the possibility of maybe trying to shift the courts over, but they're a post-tension slab, so you can't just go in and cut off half the tennis court and add another half because of the way they're constructed.
How much land do we own there?
We own also this property. The cursor's not really showing up. But we also own on the other side of the channel, that's SWISD's property as well.
You can see kind of the line, the boundary line there, that goes all the way up past there.
So if we looked at moving doing a separate new field and track north of the drainage channel, but you end up, there's about 36 feet of fall from one end of the field to the other, so it would involve extensive, much more cut and fill than just moving the channel over where the field is now. At McAuliffe, we're just going in the vacant area behind the school. Football field is just shown in there for graphical purposes. We're not doing anything in the way of creating a field or anything in that area, just doing a track. And that one is a project that can continue on later into the fall because that area is available for use.
And then this one also, the tennis courts also, the area around it is not big enough for us to do it at the existing football field. And then last.
Resnick, we're just going to go around the existing field. The site was planned to have a track when the school was done. So this will be a summertime project. All of the fields, all of the tracks will get security type lighting. It won't be lighting that would allow for like nighttime use of the fields or whatever, but just enough light to provide security out there if the track's being used in the evening.
So also what I handed out was a preliminary budget, construction budget for that. So right now we're tracking just a little over 2.26, and that's within our budget for the 2018 bond.
So these tracks are gonna be like the track here at the complex?
The material's similar to it, yes.
It's
Only 4 lanes.
It's a
What do we have now?
What do they do now?
They run in the grass.
Okay.
Come to the stadiums when they can.
Oh, okay, so,
Yeah.
So these are intended for practice.
Yeah.
They're not for competition, or will not be.
and is the community gonna have access to walk at night?
And they're intended for physical education classes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Nice.
Any questions on?
The thing you can't come up with something that's Scobie.
Yeah. To get around the field, you have to move those courts. That's gonna push that number up.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Mr. Jorge Flores with Garza Baumberger to give us an update on Scobie. And on that one, I also was able to hand out the presentation prior to, so it should be right in front of you.
Have y'all ever thought about looking across the street?
No, we don't want to take away that field. There's so much for pony practices, top one practicing. You wouldn't want that attractive.
It'd be pretty tough to get kids across that.
Across the street, yeah.
Just run. Just run real fast. It's track.
Yeah, but they would get real fast, quick, wouldn't they?
That is part of the elevated.
Mr. Fraser, Dr. Bistruf, board members, I'm Jorge Flores with Garza Bomberger, and we're happy to help the district in the renovation of Scobie Middle School. We have a list of items that the district procure, and is divided into exterior and interior. We have to do work for the site plan and the exterior, some of the building elevations. We're going to clean it up. We're going to try to make a little more pleasant in the entrance. And in the interior is a little bit more aggressive, since we're going to renovate the flooring, the ceilings, the classrooms, the science rooms, the choir, the mariachi. It's a lot of renovation. We highlighted those in the next pages of the handout, where we describe everything on the exterior, where it says site plan. And whatever you see in the bold letters are the things that it was in the bond. And the bond came to the community. The rest are items that were added from either the staff, the end user, the principal. And we will go ahead and analyze all those items based on the budget and see what it can be done. And we are going to cite it and present it, everything. So you can see what items are needed and are going to be created. We have things like the new rooftop units, new chillers. As you can see, it's a very extensive and very expensive items. In the interior, as I said, these new flooring, ceilings. We're going to repaint all the walls. We're going to change all the light fixtures to bring it up to LED. So the building is going to be more efficient. We're going to do renovation on the front entrance in the administration area, and the clinic and the principal's office. So that area is going to be modified. Then we're going to do renovations on the counselor's area. We're going to create some spaces that are needed at this moment, and we're going to help with that as well. The north area is not to the standards of the district, so we will bring some ideas on how to bring this up to the standards. We will present it to the user, to the principal, to the staff for approval. The life skills also are in bad shape, so we need to renovate the kitchen. We need to renovate some of the areas like where the kids take the nap, and so we will do all that. In the kitchen and the cafeteria, there is a need of an additional serving line, so we will add that. In the gym and the athletics, there are needs for a scoreboard and some analysis if they can replace the bleachers. They would like to have also an area outside the gym so they can practice with the colors, the flags that they throw. So we will explore that too. The fine arts, it's also going to have some renovations in the band hall, in the choir hall, and in the art room. The journalism, it's an area that is outdated, so we will have this area to be a new educational area that probably is going to be used by the robotics, which robotics is not enough area for them to practice and do all this work that the students are working for the robotics. The library also is going to receive a lot of work. They need more space for some of the areas like the multimedia. They need some rooms for collaborative spaces for the kids. So we will reconfigure this and work it out. Science labs are old, so we're going to replace all the millwork and the countertops and create new and fresh environment for the kids. And the budget. The amount that was approved in the bond was $12.8 million. And that brings down to the construction cost to $11.5 million, more or less. And we will present our analysis later on all these items, how much they are going to cost, so you can decide exactly what you want to do. And the schedule, we did a preliminary schedule with all the dates that are stone marks over there. It's probably a little bit aggressive in the construction side because we try to make a lot of work in the summer. We know it can't be done 100%, but at least the bulk of the work can be done during the summer, and then later we can work with whoever is the contractor and the school to continue working on the school. And that's all that we have for you to present.
Questions?
Can we go tour Scobie sometime and see what shape it's in? I haven't been there in a while.
Okay. We can set that up.
So Brandon, he says that he doesn't have a budget yet for all the items, so out of the 12.8 million, we may still encounter upgrades or...
Well, because there's some things here after going and assessing and talking to staff, there's some things that have been added since like the actual bond package. And so we'll go through those because we haven't priced anything. This is all preliminary, just trying to get what the scope's going to be. Now it's kind of like starting to get together, looking at numbers. And so we're going to get you some numbers. And right now, I can't tell you if it's over by 5 million or under by 2. But we're going to work on that now because we're still real preliminary in this.
Again, so what's listed here is pretty much the needs and the wants. I was meeting with campus administration, facilities, the needs that need to be upgraded. Now, the next step is putting a dollar value to those items.
So it's not necessarily at budget, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
But
he just gave you the budget number, what our budget is.
one of the things
Probably way over, right?
One of the things that we do want to track is
I was telling James, oh, we're getting a lot for 12.8 million.
It's probably like
Well, we did
5
a lot.
million over.
We did a lot of stuff at McCullough.
I bet it.
We did a lot of stuff in McCullough for about 12 million.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the same size school. We did
and that's why we highlighted the items in bold. Those are what was in our bond literature. So
Yeah.
those are to us listed, right? And then everything else that we can fit in that budget, we'll present.
And
And
we will present it as a menu.
right,
So you can see the dollar amount for each one.
right. But it'd be nice to have a ballpark before we vote on the natatorium.
Okay.
I mean, because that's a bunch of money too. So,
We'll try to, I don't know if.
just like are we looking at 3 million? Are we looking at 5 million more?
We'll get together and see, and we're going to be conservative, so
Right.
we'll give you a conservative number, but we're going to try to make sure that we're not under. Like
Oh
we
yeah,
did.
we don't want to be.
Yes.
I'd rather you tell me it's 8 million and it's only 6,
Okay.
than it's 6 and it's 10.
Absolutely.
Do we have everything already that we think that
is going to be needed? I mean, I know you said there's more additional items than what originally was thought.
Are you talking about in the bond package? I think in the bond package, and I know I kind of touched on it last time we were talking about this, the one area of the bond package that felt like we might be talking to you about over budget and fund balance would be scope. The other ones, like you saw on the tracks, the other ones are kind of, I don't want to say easier projects, but pretty, like the air conditioners going into the gyms. I think we got a good feel about that. I think we got a good feel about the tracks. Really the only other projects that we have are the transportation department, which is about $1 million project for the bond. So really our big projects in this bond are Southwest Phase 3, Natatorium, and Scobie. The rest of them are kind of smaller projects that I don't think that we're going to need unless something changes in the economics and price of everything goes up. I don't think we're going to need any extra funding in those at this point.
History tells us that there'll be something.
Correct. And so that's why we're pretty aggressive right now on all our projects, because we're trying to get them all up and running, to get them priced and get us moving, because we don't want to wait 2 years out and then the cost of everything goes up. So we're pretty aggressive to try to get everything moving. It's just, we're in the early design phases of all our projects right now.
Yeah, I think that maybe it's a good learning thing for us with the last bond that we went out for. Maybe in the future when we're going to do another bond, that like the natatorium, we didn't really, I don't, maybe do a little bit more input with the stakeholders, like with Scobie. Like maybe give us a better idea of your wish list, so that when we go out for the bond, it'd be easier to get the, to add that into the bond than take it out of fund balance. So I don't know how you would do that, if we could improve the process of getting our dollar amount for the bond, and maybe being a little more, a little closer, right, to what it's actually going to cost us instead of getting into fund balance.
The part about the bond that was strategically, I know what you're saying, the harder part was we had very limited on what we could actually get overall for the bond. 75 million was pretty much our cap on our tax rate without.
Okay.
And so we had to kind of fit those different projects and basically pick things that we could pay for, that we know that we possibly could do within that bond budget. Because overall we had a budget that, at the end of it, that 75 million is our budget, and that's really all we could go at the end of the day. And so that was kind of, you take your 3 big projects out of there, and now we have some minor things like technology and buses. And,
okay.
I
remember now.
Build capacity, and I go back to the 12 bond where we did all the projects. We came out to about 165, building Legacy High School and the other things that we did, but we can only go up to 150 until we have 50 million.
Yeah, I forgot about
But if we pay off debt, we can do exactly what you're talking about. To Dr. Byron's point, there's always something. You're right. In excess of the next 3 to 4 years, I think you're going to see an excess of over 1,000 more rooftops in Southwest ISD based on what we're seeing, and we're going to bring a demographic study and show all that. But yeah, there's future new sites that are coming up on the horizon, not as far away as I think we all anticipated they would be at one day 2 years ago. I think the growth is really on our threshold. It's coming, and we just need to get ready for it. There would be a future bond here at Southwest.
I agree with Mr. Dolphin about taking it towards Scobie. I didn't realize that we needed so many things. I'd like to see what's going on now.
Okay.
We'll set something up and we'll have this handy so we can walk those items that were brought up to us.
I know what Jorge did here. We made a comment the other morning. We were looking at this. It's a great model to use for the future. So there's a lot of things in here you'll think of. So he did a great job of really
And the status of the work, we already create a model in Revit that is ready to start making the transformation of the design and putting all the instructions for contractors. So we're in pretty good shape on production of documents. It's just I just need to give you the numbers and start making the decisions of what you want exactly to happen.
Numbers. Yeah.
Small numbers?
Well, when somebody comes and asks us, what do we want? We're going to put down everything. I mean, you're going to put down stuff that, they may have stuff that we just really can't afford. So we just have to look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, to move on the next construction update, we're gonna have Mr. Constantino with LPA Architects to give us an update on the roof renovations and the HVAC for our elementary schools.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlos Constantino, Board President, Board Members, Superintendent. I appreciate your time. What I'm going to do today is present the schematic design presentation. LPA has spent the last month with our MVP engineers and our structural engineers visiting the 12 campuses and doing an evaluation. Basically, the information we're going to provide is information and options. And so we want to give you all information to make the decisions y'all need to make in relation to the air conditioning at the 11 elementary schools, and then also the AC at McAuliffe, and then the re-roofing of the 4 campuses. So I'll be doing some comparisons in relation to rooftop rather than ground mounted, what the pros and cons are on that end, and then again, the district will go back and make some decisions on that. So I want to just give you guys, y'all may know what this looks like, but this is just a project I just finished up at East Central ISD. This is basically a ground mounted air handler unit. And so this is about the same size. It's actually a gym. We renovated and put AC in 4 gymnasiums. This is an elementary school, about the same size as one of the elementary schools that that y'all have here. So that gives you kind of a size of the air handlers that we are looking at. Probably about 15 tons, roughly about 4,500 pounds, and about 14 feet by 6 feet in size. So whether you see that on the roof or on the ground, this gives you an idea of what that will look like in relation to the campuses. Big country, basically just kind of a layout of what the scope is. HVAC at the existing gym. I will try and move this along because we have 12 campuses here. So I'll go through the first big country, give you the description on the next slide, and then if anything changes in relation to that campus, then I will address it at that time. So again, the schedule, and then the jurisdiction is Bexar County. I'm going to try and squint here, but I think I have it memorized. I should have made these bigger text. So to give you an idea, on the architectural side, the yellow dot is a ground-mounted location. The red dot is a rooftop unit. On a rooftop unit, you can't be any closer than 10 feet from the exterior of the perimeter of the gym for services purposes. So that rooftop will have to be in the center of that gym at all the locations due to the fact that we have the clear stories that are around the perimeter, so we can't get any closer than 10 feet. So that location on the red is going to be where the rooftop is. On the ground mounted, we talked about, on the roof, we will have structural support that we will have to add at about 9 of the 11 campuses for the joists that are in the gyms to address the additional dead load for those rooftop units. On the ground mounted, we will have basically a foundation. We'll have a chain link fence like you saw earlier on the photograph, gates, and then you'll have exposed ductwork. If you go back to that slide before, you can see the exposed ductwork, that sort of grayish box at the top. That's basically ductwork that's coming out of the unit, going through above, penetrating through the top of that unit, and then going into the gym. What we're going to take advantage of in most of these locations are existing vents that are in the gym, basically to circulate air when you didn't have AC. Those have to be removed and enclosed due to the fact that you don't want AC going through those units. So we're going to utilize most of the locations. We're going to be able to penetrate that ductwork vertically, penetrate through the vents, and then we would then save some costs on having to address any penetrations through the gym itself. On the mechanical side, roughly about 15 tons, again about 4,500 pounds, and then about 14 by 6 size in relation to the mechanical. On the electrical side, we're thinking about probably installing a new panel at the gym location, but we'd have to route from that location back to our original electrical service within the building. So there will be some work in relation to pulling ceilings out, addressing the routing for that conduit. So that will be some coordination. And then taking advantage, what we've talked about on our walkthrough was when we do penetrate, this is a bad example because you can see the yellow dot on the bottom of the photograph. You can see there is no vents on that. The vents are on the second photograph, so we'll have to penetrate. But when we do penetrate, we would then go into the building, make a 90, and go along the perimeter of that gym and then push air all the way across the gym. So that would avoid any issues with kids throwing balls. You may have an issue still, but at least it's not in the center of the gym. So we'll be able to make that work, penetrate, make a 90, go on one side of the gym, and then throw air across the gymnasium. So that will simplify things. It's all about simplifying, not only with cost, but construction. We have a very small window on construction in relation to these gyms. Plus, we've got to do it when kids are not around. So that makes it a big difference. Bob Hope, in relation to City of San Antonio, you can see the yellow dashed line around. That's the gym. This is a little bit different animal. We're kind of locked around the perimeter. We have both the hardtop on one side, the entry to the gym. We have an electrical easement along the second photograph, and then we have an existing storage/restroom addition that is on the bottom end of that gym. So it looks like the only place would probably be a rooftop unit that would make sense there. We just don't have any, basically, we don't have a ground-mounted location for that. Again, these are going to be decisions that I'm giving you that the district will make in relation to the location. Same information in relation to the architectural, structural, mechanical, and electrical system. Other than when we do rooftop units, we will have to penetrate through the center, which means we will have ductwork now in the center of that gym. So just remember that. It won't be on the side unless we route it back to the side and then go both directions with ductwork. So a little bit more work on that end. Hidden Cove, existing, again, gymnasium. This is the City of San Antonio. Same information. Yellow dot is the ground-mounted. Red is the rooftop unit in the center. Again, you can see now on the bottom left photograph, there are those vents that I was talking about. So when we put a ground-mounted location on there, we would then penetrate vertically outside the building, penetrate through one of those vents, waterproof it, and then be able to run that ductwork across one side of the gym and then be able to throw air across the gymnasium. Okay? Other than that, the same conditions of concerns about supporting the structure. We will have some additional tubes and frames that we will have to address. I think we're thinking with about a 14-foot length, we're probably going to have to address at least 3 of the joists that we will have to address for support. Yes, sir.
The choices are only rooftop, and rooftop, you're telling us that's going to center.
Yes, sir.
When you say reroute, would that be on top of the roof, or you would penetrate
through and then either run it center or go across and then hit one of the sides? Yes, sir.
Does it cost more to put it on the roof or on the ground?
So we did some analysis of that. Just a quick number on that. Joists for structural is about $4,000 a piece on a joist. So if you're going 14 feet, they're at 5 foot on center, you're affecting about 3 to 4 joists. So you're looking at about between $12,000 and $14,000. On a budget, kind of approximate budget on the ground mounted is about $12,000 to $14,000. So it's about a wash, but you are paying for the fence and the gate. So that would be what you would want to look at in relation. And then you have the maintenance issue on the roof rather than simplifying it on the ground.
Is either one safer?
If I had to guess, the ground mounted would be safer. Yes, ma'am.
That would seem to me.
Yes, ma'am. Because you're probably having to go up a ladder in the main building to get to the roof.
Yeah.
And then you have perimeter ladders that you have to go down on because you have different heights of some of these roofs. So you're going to have to go down a ladder, up a ladder, and then back onto the roof.
So we have room at all of our schools on the side of the gym to put it on the ground, or no? Not
No,
on
ma'am.
the-
No,
which
ma'am.
ones
Like
do
Bob
we-
Hope, we don't.
We most definitely will have a combination. Now,
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
it's up to us to give you all a recommendation whether we want to go mostly roof or mostly ground mounted.
Okay,
There's stipulations for each.
okay.
Structural upgrades for ground movement on ground mounted units. So
Okay.
those are items that we need to take into account,
Okay,
and we'll bring.
and then you'll bring the okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
They have they're very expansive soil, so there would be.
Y'all pretty well have made up your mind you're gonna go this route.
Well, we still need to figure out a few of the sites, but talking it over, money's no object in the sense of they're apples to apples. But we just need to discuss it a little further on which route we want to go.
And then I'll get into the schedule as well,
That's the
which
other
is
thing
key,
that's gonna
extremely key, and I'll go over that. Again, information to provide y'all to make a decision. I talked to Raphael and Thomas. The schedule is what's key. What you don't want to do is have remobilization in relation to stopping and starting construction. And that's probably $10,000 to $15,000 costs.
Why don't y'all get together on this and then get back with us and we can look at it further that way. The details and all, you can come back to us and we can look at it then. Because right now, this is kind of, we don't know what's.
Yeah, and really what we wanted to do was, we haven't presented this to y'all at all through LPA, but we wanted to come forward and tell you what LPA's been working on in terms of these two separate packages, the re-roofing and the HVAC equipment. So yeah, this is gonna be a very 30,000 foot view, but we just wanted to be open and tell you guys options that we have, but we will be bringing a recommendation.
It's great information.
Yes,
Very
thank you.
thorough.
Have you heard from principals to efforts on the ground on that?
We haven't met with every single one of them yet, but we will. Again, this is kind of, we wanted to do our homework first and then we'll be.
Right.
Raphael, we trust you and Thomas to make the right decision for us.
Real quick, sir, let me try and wrap it up a little bit. So Meadow Creek is the same condition, roof or ground. We could take advantage of an existing parking lot on the backside that is not within the fire lane where we could put the ground mounted. Same conditions on this. The only thing on the structure, at some point, when y'all, I think it was probably around 2008, 2010, someone said, hey, while we're doing all of these prototype schools, let's think about putting additional structure on the roof. So Meadow Creek and Sky Harbor have additional capacity. We would have to split the units into 2 units, which is not a big deal, but I think there is an advantage, again, to doing that and saving the district some money. So Meadow Creek is the same one where we could take advantage of that. Sky Harbor, same condition. And I think this is probably more leaning on the red dot just because of the fact that the first photo on the left has about a 3 or 4 to 5 foot grade difference. So you'd have to get a civil engineer and you'd have to cut that grade down to have a flat surface for that ground mounted unit. So again, this has additional structure for the rooftop. Okay, Elm Creek, same condition, other than there's a perfect place. This is a little island on the back side of the gym with a vent that we could penetrate through. That's the yellow dot. And then access, same conditions on the mechanical, structural, and electrical distance. This structure would have to be upgraded on the rooftop units. Southwest Elementary School, this one's a little bit different. Unfortunately, the only location, due to the fact that we have a full fire lane around the entire perimeter, including on the right side vertically, where we could not put a ground mounted unit on that side because we'd be in the fire lane. So the other locations would be the yellow dot, which if you put it on the yellow dot, which would be the first photograph, penetrating through the vents, you would then be impeded into the fire lane. So we would then have to slide that fire lane out, I'm going to say at least 12 to 15 feet, whatever that perimeter of that ground mounted is, which means that fire lane would have to extend to that dashed white line. There is another location on the blue, which would be on that probably would be on that's on the west side, where you could, but that's on the hardtop area, and I think I don't think that'd be a good suggestion to put it on a place where the kids are utilizing that. And I think y'all indicated y'all have a lot of events in that location. Spicewood, same condition. We have a perfect location on the backside for the parking lot that we could utilize, that ADA parking we could utilize that has the area where it's not in the middle of the fire lane. Same structure we have to address, the same mechanical, electrical. Okay, all right. Okay, so same information on this end. So I will quickly go. McAuliffe is the same thing. We have a roof work. We do have mezzanines that could easily be updated. Construction, we are aggressive. The key to this is the ordering of the air handling units. It is about an 8 to 12 week lead time on the air handling units. We're working closely with Raphael and Thomas to address the timeline on that, but we're looking at hopefully coming back to the board with the bid probably the 2nd to 3rd week of April. That'll give us about 2 months for ordering, and so hopefully, okay, timeline. This is where it's important, and I apologize, there's a lot of information. We've been busy here. On the ground-mounted unit, the time frame we're thinking on the first 4 gyms on summer 2020 would be from April to August. We could do part of the foundation while the kids are there, the fencing while the kids are there, and then we would do 2 more gyms. September, October, 2 gyms. This is for ground-mounted, again, because we can do work while the kids are there. We just put fences around it. November, December, 2 gyms, January, February, 2 gyms, and then March, April, we would do the last gym. On the rooftop, you are limited. April through August is the first 4 gyms in the summer, and then from September to April, you would either have to take kids out of the gyms for at least the same time period as above, or you would have to address most of those during the second summer. So on a ground mounted, again, you can take advantage of excavating, forming, and pouring the foundation, your unit set, your ductwork, your gates. Only coordination would be the ductwork inside the gym that you'd have to coordinate, which could be coordinate after, install after 3 p.m. On the rooftop, you have concerns about the welding of the steel, painting of the steel, setting of the units, and then the penetrated roof of the roof, which you couldn't do during the kids being there. Okay, hopefully I didn't go too fast there. And then on the roofing, I think Raphael and Thomas we've been kind of looking at this in different directions. The main concern is the rooftop units and the lead time for that. We do not want to get into an issue where we start something in the summer of 2020 and we get in trouble, where we get the units late and then we have a 60 to 70,000 square foot roof that we have to address and we don't have rooftop units. So this is kind of moving target. I think there's additional conversation. The only thing I will say is Indian Creek has only 6 units that we are replacing. Crewald and Elm Creek probably have 40. So that's something to consider. And then McAuliffe is just the units within the mezzanine. The roof could start whenever we need to, other than the square footage. I won't get into this code issue. We're going to be arm wrestling with the city and the Bexar County. Basically, we're going to justify we don't need to bring this up to electric energy code, which is a different animal. And then, again, this is just a conversation that we've had between competitive sealed and CM at risk. I apologize for going so quickly here, guys. I know y'all have it's been a long evening, so.
You put together really a great example right here.
Thank you, sir.
So on our next meeting, we'll condense it. We'll probably package it by schedules of summer 1, summer 2. That way you guys know when things moving forward, just so we know which schools are going to be fitting that summer. Questions? Construction updates?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Nothing else on construction?
No, sir.
All right, moving on, monthly tax.
Yes, sir, we're up almost 16% than we were last year at this time. So we had a good December in tax collection.
16%.
16%.
Boy, your hammer must be getting bigger. All right, finance, investment, gifts, enrollment. Y'all stop me if you have questions. 50,000. Y'all have any questions on that?
I didn't get my gift with me for college.
You didn't? Boy, didn't get you a check?
In the mail.
Calendar of events. A lot of things coming up. Online auction.
Yes, sir. We're just going to give a quick update. We did have our online auction this fall.
I heard we're on.
One of our better ones, so that's here just to give a quick update.
The district online auction took place from November 15th, 2019 through December 3rd, 2019. Overall grossed $53,898 and netted $42,974.64. There were a total of 201 lots, and that's last year, compared to last year, there was 124 lots, and we only netted $14,177. So the online auction was conducted again by Lemon Auctioneers Online Pros. The gross was $53,898 for a net of $42,974.
Does that just go in fund balance or what?
Yeah, this goes back to the general fund.
You didn't buy ice cream for everybody?
No, it didn't.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, going to Mr. Vasquez's 50,000.
Thanks, Thomas. All right, Superintendent, we'll postpone that till later. Human Resource District stipends.
Yes, we have a need to add an addendum to our stipend list. We're running a special program at McAuliffe because of their status with accountability, and we're wanting to pay $50 to core content teachers per hour that have been identified as high-performing teachers from across the district to work at McAuliffe. And so this has been agreed upon by all the middle school principals to support each other so that we can help McAuliffe move forward and hopefully move to a different rating for the next school year.
And what is it again?
It's an increased stipend for high-performing teachers across the district to work at McAuliffe in an after-school tutorial program. They're running a program called The Chosen. It'll be unveiled next week, next week with the parents and the students. And we wanted to make sure that we had our highest performing teachers across the district working at the campus in after-school hours. And all the middle school principals have been very supportive of Roxy and her team to make sure that we get the best qualified people there to work with their kids.
That's awesome. Along those lines of tutoring, I know that Sun Valley is going to be offering after-school tutoring. Who does that tutoring?
Typically, it is done by teachers that are in your school.
And are we paying them extra?
Yes,
Okay.
that rate is different, what we've always paid. But with the situation at McAuliffe, we're hoping to really help Roxy.
No, I think it's awesome. I just had not I didn't realize that we did after-school tutoring at the elementary schools, but that's a really nice thing for our parents.
Other questions? Need a motion?
I move.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Business and finance, bus patrol cameras.
Yes, sir. I'm going to take you back a little bit. I know it's been a couple years where we we partnered with a group out of Dallas, and it was part of the bus arm citation program, where we got free cameras put on our buses, and it was supposed to stop drivers from passing our buses and doing the violation, and it would send tickets in the mail.
James got 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. Well, at the last legislative session, the legislators voted against that, so that no longer exists. At the same time, the company that we were in partnership with went under. Another company bought out their assets, and their assets are the cameras that we have on our buses. And I know I brought this up in the summer. They wanted us to purchase the cameras because we really like the cameras, and they wanted about $500,000 for all the cameras, which if you went out and purchased them, we'd spend a lot more money than that right now for brand new ones. But we also know that we've had them for 3 years, and so there's some wear and tear on them. So we've been negotiating, and we've been negotiating probably since May of last year. And so we've come to the end where we've kind of finalized what we feel is appropriate. At the same time, this is their bottom line. So we're asking the board to approve this purchase. We will work with our lawyers to send a letter to make us clear and free of the debt. And at the same time, keep our cameras, because our cameras currently we use are really good for our buses and safety. With any altercations, anything that goes on, we have it's pretty great camera system. I did budget this. This was a budget item that I felt that we might go to. So it isn't within the budget, and so we're asking the board. If you want to make the recommendation.
The recommendation is the district is requesting that the board approve the purchase of the bus camera systems that it's a total cost of $299,600.
I move we do that.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Great job. Great job, man. Great job.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, GPS system.
Mr. Tamayo will be presenting this one.
Oh, you're gonna let him talk this time?
I saw you had his hand in your back.
Good evening, everybody. The public school districts now have the capability of supporting their district vehicle fleet through the utilization of global positioning systems. GPS technology not only provides real-time visibility into the location of school buses, other school district vehicles, but also supports vehicle fleets by improving driver safety, reducing maintenance costs, reducing fuel costs, and increasing operational efficiency. Okay. The district staff is recommended to lease a GPS to support the primarily transportation facility and maintenance, child nutrition, distribution, and the Southwest Police Department. Okay, and all vehicle fleets will be outfitted with GPS systems.
Who does this?
Synovia. There's multiple vendors that do this, and we vetted 3. And,
So you go out for bids and they give you the bid as,
Yes.
okay.
Synovia Solution provided the best value for the district in providing GPS systems for both white and yellow fleet. A parent digital app, here comes the bus. It's also available through Synovia Solution for parents of Southwest ISD. Parents will have the capability to view real-time location of their child's bus and also have the option to receive push notifications of email alerts. Here comes the bus, allows the app's access to via smartphones and tablets.
It's gonna cut down on my
Yes.
phone calls to you. Perfect.
Bus was late again.
Where's Lou? Yeah. That's awesome.
All right, quotes were obtained
How
from
much?
the 3 GPS fleet vendors.
Did you say something?
Yeah, I missed how much the service costs. I guess you're,
I'm getting to it.
okay, all right.
Y'all let him talk, we'll get finished.
To the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're recommending that the approve the lease of the GPS systems from Synovia Solution for Southwest ISD district-wide. District-wide vehicle white fleet at annual cost of $49,980.72 and a 3-year lease cost of $149,942.16.
You can't just buy iPhones and you find my phone.
We can.
Need a motion?
Wait a minute, so this is gonna be on all the vehicles, like,
Every
we're gonna
every
know
white
where all
fleet,
our
every
fleets
bus.
are, or everything, but is that, are the parents only gonna be able to track the bus?
Just the buses. The bus happens for the buses. The
Supervisors will do the white fleet.
white fleet supervisors, police department, the chief would monitor his fleet, just to make sure our fleet's within district and moving where they're supposed to be.
Other questions?
I move we approve.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Change order 2 on Southwest Legacy football boosters. This is side parking lot.
Good evening again. CGC General Contractors was the contractor on this project, which is now complete. So this, we're bringing forward the unused contingency amount of $34,802.94. So through the process, unused contingency and CEC had generated a decreased contract amount from $607,000 to $572,197.06. So our recommendation is that the board approve change order number 2 to CGC General Contractors to change their contract amount or decrease it in a net of $34,802.94.
Nice.
Questions?
I move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Change order 3 on Southwest football stadium.
Yes, sir. With same token, D Plata Construction was the contractor of this project again, which is complete. On this one, we have a unused contingency of $4,843.84. We have generated a change order to decrease their amount. So we are bringing to you the recommendation that the board approve change order number 3 for a net decrease of their contract by $4,843.84.
Question?
I move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Delivery method on Scobie.
So as we heard Mr. Flores present to us the update on Scobie Middle School, I think it's really beneficial for the district to bring a CM at risk in order for us to get that pricing ahead. Through history, we've learned that that's a pretty well worth exercise. So what we're bringing to you is, and with the help of Garza Baumberger, is that our procurement method be the CMR for Scobie Middle School. In your board background, we have our general selection criteria and points, which would be 20 points for fees, 40 points for project management, 30 points for contractor relevant experience, and 10 points for contractor qualifications, with a stipulation of an additional interview if the points are close enough. Our recommendation is that the board approve construction manager at risk as a delivery method for Scobie Middle School renovation project.
Question?
I move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. All right, curriculum and instruction, ELAR, adoption committee.
We're going to have Bonnie be presenting this item for approval for the new adoption committee.
Good evening, President Frazier and School Board, Dr. Versta. And thank you a lot for allowing me to speak this evening. We have our next textbook adoption for English 1 through 4 in high school. So we asked each high school to select a committee member that would represent their campus. So we have all 3 high schools represented: Legacy, Southwest High School, and CAST. And we feel that the committee members were selected and represent the targeted areas, the grade spans that we're looking for, special populations. We've kept that into consideration as well as experience levels. So we're asking for you for approval for the textbook committee members.
I move. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Consider approval of GPA and rank policy.
Yes, I'm going to have Zeline Aragon to present on our GPA rank policy.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for this opportunity to present. We wanted to go ahead and bring for your approval the proposed policy for our GPA and ranking EIC local, which will affect the class of 2024 and beyond. One of the reasons we are bringing you the policy is because we know we moved into a new master schedule with the 5-period accelerated day. And we also had some changes with the state requirements with graduation programs. So we'd like policy to mirror what the state is asking us to implement. So that's one of the changes that you'll see in our policy. Also, we did, when we met with TASB representatives, there was some information that they recommended not be included. It will still live as Southwest ISD policy under our admin regulations, and then also in our parent-student handbook. So we're talking about the conversion table. When students do come out of state to Southwest ISD and enroll, they come in with a grade. So to be systemic, we want to make sure that all students that come in have the same grade. So that was removed from the policy, but it will live in admin regulations. One of the second things, the second item that was removed was the conduct, that the top 10%, the top students had to abide by the student's code of conduct. That still lives in our student parent handbook, but that is being removed from the policy that will be online. Do we have?
Wait a minute.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So the policy online is going to be different than what's in the handbook?
It's just going to be different. There's some, TASB's recommending some things live in policy and other things live in admin regs, which are just different.
So,
What is the conduct? What are we talking about?
So students have to abide by the student code of conduct. For example, for the speech, for the top 2, they have to be in good standing. That will still remain, but TASB is saying that's pretty outdated with current districts, so they're asking us to remove it. We will still, students will still have to abide by it, but it will live in our admin regulations, our student code of conduct. And that will suffice, is what TASB, is advising us.
I don't understand. So somewhere online, it's going to say they don't have to?
No, not at all. So the class, so you'll see the current policy will live for our current 9th through 12th graders. So that information will be on the policy. Now for our incoming class of 2024, our current 8th graders, they will still abide by that policy, but it will be in the student code of conduct. So it'll still be online, cited for our parents. It will be publicized, but TASB is recommending that because that is our regulations, that it live outside of the policy that's online, just for EIC local.
So what we're trying to do here, I believe, is clean up some of the language as well. So there's language in policy that may not be in complete alignment with the practice of the law. And what this does is this new language aligns the practice of the policy. We all know that there have been a change in the way that there's a rank going on in another district in San Antonio. They're very interested in exploring that more, so we may be coming back with another policy recommendation to the board in the future, learning what they've done, ranking their top 10% quartile the other students is something that we may want to look at and explore and have conversation around. So today's recommendation, in my opinion, looks like we're cleaning up some language. With the upcoming, when you do a policy change that has to do with either GPA or rank, you can only do it with the incoming freshmen that are. So what this does is create a policy that really matches the practice of what we do, that has some exclusions in it, like a student is taking courses credit by exam without prior instruction. So it really kind of outlines all the requirements. But when you get to your top 10%, top 10 students, there's a difference probably in the hundreds of thousands of employees differences. So we're trying to make sure that we're really addressing the language and the practice, that there's a complete alignment to it. That's my biggest thing.
A great example of what we're talking about is the student code of conduct, which is something that we bring to you as a board every August before we begin school. And parents actually have to sign off on that student code of conduct along with other guidelines. One of them being what she's talking about this top 10% and the student behaviors really being addressed there as opposed to it being addressed in board policy. Another one of those is how we ascertain who is number one or number two, because in our employee our student code of conduct and the student parent handbook, it outlines the student must be here for 4 consecutive semesters and things like that. So it's not necessarily in policy local, but it lives in the administrative regulations that our parents are signing off on when they enter our school district. Does that make sense? And that gives us a little bit of flexibility to change those things without having to change policy all the time. And so it allows for more flexibility for us, which we bring to you guys.
I just didn't realize we had stuff in local policy that was different than administrative practices. I'll just ask later. I don't know.
Gave me a headache, I don't understand it. Go ahead.
We do have an option to table this and bring this back in the work session and really get into the details. If that's the wish of the board, we have.
I just don't understand about it's in the policy online and then it's different in the administrative practices. I don't get that.
Yeah,
It won't be.
I think I've asked a question before to our TASB liaison, who, I mean, they're entrenched in this all day and they work with TASB legal when we ask them policy questions. Policy is supposed to be general, it's supposed to give guidance. Administrative regulations are decisions you've already made in the district. And so there is a difference between the two. They've moved in the last decade to more administrative regulations being more specific and using the policy as a guiding rubric, but they guide you towards your admin work.
So our policy is becoming more general.
I think over the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Okay.
general's a good descriptor. I think it's more of a guiding kind of policy.
Right.
And there's no way they can put like all of the information inside the policy. So we try to make it more general and drive people towards the student parent handbook where we put specific information.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where you're at. And sometimes you're not going to have the same information in both. It won't be contradictory, but there's more information in student parent handbook specifically about ranked GPA. And so we're trying to clean that up. I think there is a need for a cleanup, but I think there's a need for more conversation too. based on what we learned here recently. I'm really intrigued to see exactly what these size feet is. And maybe it's something we want to look at. If it's a benefit to you, we should at least have that conversation.
Yeah, and nothing is different as we look at what's in admin regs. It's pretty much a duplicate. When we look at the proposed policy, it has to do with academic achievement. So when we talk about anything having to do with discipline, that's already in our student parent handbook, our student code of conduct. So that was one of the recommendations TASB made, is that we just stick policy is purely academic. And of course, we do adhere to our student code of conduct in our student parent handbook.
Any other questions?
So if you want to table that, we can table that and bring it back to the board.
You want to table it?
Well, I don't know that it needs to be tabled. I think it may have just been the verbiage that you were using about it lives here, but it doesn't live here, or it, I just didn't quite. I mean, I'm sure we're, and then also rankings is always a very sensitive subject, right? So I don't want to be approving something I don't really understand. I'd rather not approve. I don't understand. Sorry.
All right. I need a motion.
I move we approve the recommendations from staff as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Bye.
I'm going to have to abstain because I really don't understand what you're.
Opposed?
Okay.
Motion carried.
We'll bring it back.
Okay.
Moving on to item C, stipends for special education assessments done outside of hours.
So Ms. Aubrey Hogan will be presenting this item.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Verstiff. This goes back to the corrective action plan that kind of came out with TEA that had dealt with the special ed numbers. And so we're still seeing an increase in the special ed referrals. We more than doubled last year in the referrals. So we're still seeing that kind of play out. One of the things that we're also dealing with is a shortage of assessment staff right now. And so one of the things that we are going to be looking at doing is basically opening our doors on Saturdays in order to bring in our assessment staff to continue to do assessments on the weekends, to bring in kids to test. And that's really, at this point, in order to address the numbers and being able to stay within our timelines, that's really the best option on the table right now. In order to do that, what we'd be looking at doing is requesting that we pay our current assessment staff a stipend of either $450 or $550 per test, depending on the test. So psychological tests obviously are a little bit more complicated, so that rate is at $550, and then our IQ and achievement would be set at $450. And so that the recommendation, of course, would be that those funds be paid out of our federal IDA B funds and state funds. And so we're asking that the board approve those additional stipends at this time.
Can you share with us the number that you're looking at that needed, and how many children need, right now, how many children need to be assessed?
So currently, we still sit at 668 kids that need to be assessed, and we haven't really hit our referral season. And so we anticipate that number to skyrocket again. The springtime is usually when we get more referrals. And so as it stands, in order to kind of keep up with those of us that have the experience to test that don't test anymore, and that includes Rob, we're actually all testing right now, and now in order to keep the numbers down. But Saturdays are going to have to be in the game for at least until the end of the year in order to do that. And a lot of parents, honestly, when we've talked to them, are more than willing to bring in their kids on Saturday for testing. So our office will be busy on Saturdays if we can have that approved.
Need a motion?
I move.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, what's your one more thing, sir?
You're up, sir. Ready to go.
All right, under section 551.001-551.146, we go into executive session. We come back into regular session and it's 8:20. And we go back into superintendent's recommendation on personnel.
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation on personnel with the exception of the one that we discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. I know you've got to have something to say you didn't have.